What's up, everyone? It's your boy Gabe Mendez. Today is April 17th. The time is 12:05. The conversation today is going to be around closing, how to close someone to do something. And there's a process to closing. Before I get started, I want to interact with the team. And who would like to tell me what step number one is in closing? When you're attempting to close someone, what is step number one? And I'll give you a hint. It's not what you think it is. Chances are it's not what you think it is. Step number one, if you're like, oh, the whole closing process. If you had to write it down on a piece of paper and say, step number one, if you're in front of a seller or a buyer and you had to do it, what would you say step number one is? I'll give you a hint. It's probably not what you think. Doesn't matter if you get it right or wrong.
Smile.
Smile. I like that. It's a good answer. Always want to smile. What else?
Get to know the person.
Ooh, get to know the person. You're getting closer with that answer. That's
see,
also
see what they want, what they like, what's their plan in the future.
Yeah, that's going to fall under the process. But yeah, there's one step before that.
Be knowledgeable.
I love it. One more try. Anyone?
Commitment from them.
I love it. Having to get a commitment. I love that. All right, here we go. Ready? Closing in sales begins with who you are being. Who you are being. Did you guys write that down? Who you are being. Write that down, because even if you don't look at your notes ever again, remember the retention rate we talked about at the very beginning? The retention rate increases. Write that down. Who I am being. Who are you being when it comes to who are you being as a person? Are you being someone that cares about your commission? Are you being someone who cares about their outcome? Are you being someone that is impatient? Who are you being? Because who you are being on the inside will translate to who you are on the outside. Has anyone heard the expression that says, talks about how money doesn't change you? Money only amplifies who you are. Has anyone heard that before? You drop it in the comment section. Let me know. Yes, yes, no, no. Drop it if you've heard it. Drop it like it's hot. Anyone? Yes, yes. Got one yes. Yes, two yeses. Money does not change you. Money only amplifies who you are. Money only amplifies it. So if you're a good person and you get a lot of money, you become even a better person. If you are a greedy person who likes to keep everything for themselves, that's, again, not a bad or a good thing, depends on your stance, but it just amplifies that. If you are a person with a big ego and a lot of pride, when you have more money, you're going to continue to be that. You'll talk down to people, you'll be demanding. If you are someone who has a big giving heart and you give a lot when you have nothing, when you have a lot, it's going to amplify it. You're going to be the person who tips the most. You're going to be the person who pays for the ticket first. You're going to be the person who pays for the dinner first. Like, that's just who your heart is. So who you are on the inside determines how you act on the outside. Step number one to closing is who you are being. Now, who can tell me what you should be in order to have a successful close? What type of person should you be? You shoot a shot, whatever you think. Who should you be? If you want to close more listings, if you want to close more buyers, if you want to close more people on social media, who should you be?
Your authentic self.
Absolutely authentic self, and always remain authentic. What else?
Intentional.
I love intentional. Absolutely, you gotta be intentional with it too, because look, I love that you said that right now, Natalie, because if your authentic self is someone who is greedy, mad, upset, impatient, you probably wouldn't want to be that for the client. You know, we probably want to be a little more patient, loving, understanding. So you do have to be intentional about who you are being when it comes to sales. So who do you need to be?
The best version of yourself.
Best version of yourself. What else?
Someone who's caring.
Ooh. There we go, Rashad. That's it. That's it. Everyone write this down. The person that you need to be in order to close more is someone who cares. someone who cares. You must care for the other person's outcome more than you care for yourself. I'll give you an example. Watch. If all I cared was about my commission and closing this deal, I might show up to the appointment, and this is how I might act if all I cared about was closing the deal. I might ask questions. Listen to this. I might ask, and maybe this resonates with you. Maybe this is you. If I was closing, then I might be someone who asks a question. I let the person answer the question, and without even engaging in a conversation, I'm already asking the next question. I'm already asking the next question. If I don't care, I ask the next question. But someone who cares about the other person, puts the other question aside, listens to what the person says, goes like this and says, tell me more. How'd that happen? How'd that make you feel? What happened when that happened? Tell me more about it. And when you begin to care about the other person's outcome more, who you become, who you are on the inside begins to change. The way you dress changes, the way you speak changes, the way you act changes, because now you know you're going to this person's house, not to make a commission, but to serve them at the highest level. The best salespeople in the world are best at caring for other people or making the other person feel like they care. Look, I'll be honest with you. Maybe you don't care. That's okay. I'm not here to tell you what that's right or wrong. I don't care. But if you can make the other person feel like you care and you can do everything that shows that you care, I don't mean being fake to their face and then go and doing something else. Show them, pretend that you care. Even if you don't care, pretend, get really good at making them feel like you care. And then when you do that, you'll get the contract, you get the client, and then your behavior needs to reflect that. Do what's best in their interest. Maybe you never care your entire career. That's okay. I don't need you to sit there and cry with your client, have a bottle of whiskey and be sad with them. Maybe you don't have to do that. Maybe your heart isn't there. That's fine. Just make them feel like you care and do right by them on the end, and you'll have a long-lasting business. So who you are being will translate into how you act and how you should be acting as a person who cares. If someone feels for 1 second that you don't care, that you're being fake, that you're lying, that you have your interest at heart, they're going to close up on the inside. All of us have something called an intuition. All of us have something called a sixth sense. How many of you have spoken to a person in a relationship, a boyfriend, a girlfriend? You've been at the bar, someone hit on you, someone sent you a direct message, you're getting ready to buy some lashes, some hair, some clothes, or something, doesn't matter. You guys ran into a person and you felt like they were just trying to sell, or they just wanted to close. And you didn't care. You felt that they didn't care. You automatically inside, I'm not saying that you did or didn't buy something. I don't care about that. Inside, something was triggered. True. Something was triggered on the inside. You had a sixth sense come up and be like, oh crap, something doesn't feel right. I'm getting a bad vibe from that person. True. Okay. Your audience, when you're on camera, your seller, when you're at the dinner table, your buyer, when you're on the consultation, feels the exact same thing. Who are you being? Gabe, how do I change who I'm being? Good question. Here's the answer. Ready? How do you change who you're being? Here we go. I'll give you the fastest answer you can think about. This is the answer to how you can change who you're being. Who wants the answer? Anyone else? Who wants to know? No one? Look at the chat. Drop it in the chat. Who wants to know? What's the quickest way to change who you're being? In a listing appointment, buyer consultation? Nobody? I'll just move on. Okay. Step number 2 into, Bernadette. Okay. I'll just send, since only Bernadette, I'll send Bernadette a private message. Hold on. Here we go. Oh, okay. Oh, here we go. You guys are showing up now. All right. There we go. Natalie got it. Desiree, we got it. Everyone's showing up today. I love it. I need one more person to type it in the chat. Who else wants to see it? Who else wants to know? Anne Marie says, hi. Give me a me. There we go. I'll take that. Me. Look at that. Okay, here's truly the answer. You already heard it. The number one way to change who you're being is to change your belief about why you're there. Change your belief about why you're there. Change your belief about why you're there. Write that down. Change my belief about why I'm there. This is how you're going to change who you are. When you change who you are, you change what you do. You change the way you speak. You change the way you act. Things don't get weird. Let me ask you guys a question. How many of you guys have been to the doctors in the last, 6 months? just a doctor's visit, either a routine checkup, Stephanie, Dolores, Natalie, got you guys, okay, perfect. And those of you who went to the doctor recently, how many of you went to the doctor, they prescribed you either a specialist or some sort of medication or something like that you had to go take or do? How many got prescribed something, right? Okay, good. All right, let me ask you a question. Your doctor may or may not care about you, but your doctor made you feel like he did. And your doctor went there and he gave you a prescription for the problem. Hey, Dolores, I know you're feeling like this. Here we go. Your doctor didn't walk into like this. Oh, fuck, she's back again. Okay, Dolores, what is it this time? All right, what do you need? Oh my gosh. Or the door cracked open. He's talking to the nurse outside. Who is it? It's Stephanie. Oh my God, again? What does she want this time? Oh, hey, Stephanie. They didn't do that. They didn't do that. They walked in there like professionals. Hey, what's bothering you today? How did it happen? What's going on? And they started taking all your symptoms. We're going to weigh, you're going to do this. Okay, listen, hey, this is what you need. You need to take this, this, and this. I want you to follow, and I want to see you in 2 weeks. True, true. Did they not? Did they do that? Some variation of it. They made you feel a certain way. And what did you do? Yeah, I'll take the medication. Yeah, I'll go to the follow-up. Did your doctor, number one, they didn't act rude and they didn't act like they didn't care. And number two, when they were getting ready to tell you what to do, listen to this. When they were getting ready to tell you what to do, did they start acting all weird? Damn, I don't know how to tell her this, but you need Tylenol. Look, you can take the, you don't have to, the Tylenol's gonna be here, but you don't have, sorry having mentioned it at all. You want to scratch it, I'm out of here. They didn't do that. They just said, hey, this is what you need. When you care about someone or you make them feel like they care, they open their heart, they open their mind, they feel like you care. And when they feel like you care, at that point is when they're receptive to hear what you have to say. They will listen to you. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I get it completely. You guys are in a bad position right now. You have no equity, you just lost your brother. This home's going to probate. You need to sell it quickly. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this home is too big for you. You guys have 5 people living in a 2-bedroom home. I totally get it. I understand it. It must be tough. And I'm speaking from my heart because I care. I can't imagine having no space in the house. I can't imagine the anxiety the kids must feel because they have nowhere to go. I can't imagine the stress and pressure you must feel because you want to provide more for them, but you can't. But I have some good news. You bought the home 3 years ago. You built up $80,000, $90,000 worth of equity. Here's what we're going to do. Before we even put the house on the market, I'm going to sit down with you and a lender, probably 2 of them. I'm going to make sure you get the best interest rate, that you qualify for the most amount of money, and that you get qualified for the amount that you home that you need. And when you do that, when we go out there and we fight, I'm going to make sure we fight for a credit so that you get a 2-1 buy down, so that your payment is affordable for the first 2 years. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do all that before we put your house on the market. You guys see the difference? Who felt that? Do you see that difference? Like, I didn't care about the commission. I didn't care about getting another listing. I cared about what their situation was. And because I cared about it, the words came out naturally. It flowed from the heart. That's what I want all of you to do moving forward. So step number 1, when you're closing somebody, it's about who you're being. And you change who you're being by caring. You change who you're being by changing your belief. You change who you're being by caring. So what should you do before you go into a listing appointment? What should you do before you jump on a phone call with a lead? What should you do before you make the post? What should you do? Tell yourself you care. Sit there and look in the heart and say, if you're a person of faith, this is what I do. Lord, bless my heart. I pray that you remove any of my own intentions away. I pray that you allow me to see with your vision, hear with your heart, speak your words. Just download it to me so that I can go and serve these people at the highest level. I'm not joking. This is what I did today before I hopped on this call. I was like, yo, God, help me serve my agents at the highest level. What can I give them? Boom. It's not me. I just care about you guys because I want you guys to go out there and close more so you can go provide for your families. Step number 2 in the close. Step number 2 in the close. When you're closing with somebody, either they're a lead on social media, they're a lead, they're at a listing appointment, whatever it might be, right? Number 2 is pre-qualifying them. Pre-qualifying them. Back to the doctor scenario. Stephanie and Dolores and Natalie and everyone who went to the doctors recently. Could the doctor close you with a medicine if he did not first pre-qualify you? No. Answer is no. The doctor had to pre-qualify you. He had to check your weight, check your blood, what was hurting. He had to ask you a list of questions. Is everyone seeing this? Yes or yes? Are we seeing how the doctor had to close you, but he had to pre-qualify you first. So you must pre-qualify everyone you speak to. Everyone you speak to. Pre-qualifying is asking a series of questions that lead to a desired outcome. Pre-qualifying is asking a series of questions that lead to a desired outcome. If I want to get you to list your home with me, then I might ask you certain questions that go like this. Have you ever worked with, let me ask you a question, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Have you ever worked with an agent that doesn't have a team? No, I've never had that experience. Well, have you ever been to a restaurant, a five-star restaurant recently? Yeah, I've been to a five-star restaurant. And let me ask you a question. When you got to the restaurant and you pulled up outside, who parked your car for you? Oh, the valet did. Okay. And then when you walked to the front door, who greeted you and checked your reservations? Oh, it was the hostess. And then when you went to your seat, who waited on you all evening, got your drinks and your food? Oh, that was the waiter, the waiter, the waitress. And when you ordered your food, who cooked it? Oh, that was the chef and the team in the back. And then when you wanted your drinks, who prepared those? Oh, that was the bartender. Great. And when you were finished with that five-star experience, were you upset because the owner never showed up? Did you leave a one-star review because the owner never stopped by and he didn't park your car, valet you, make your drink, cook your food, take your order? No, I didn't do that. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, you loved it so much that you probably went back, you referred a friend, you posted about it, right or right. The client's like, yeah, that's of course what I did. Let me ask you this question, Mr. Seller. If the owner was like a real estate agent without a team and they did everything themselves, how good of an experience do you think that five-star restaurant might be? Well, if they had one customer, probably be fantastic. But the moment they have 2-3 cars to start parking, 2-3 people outside waiting to get seated, 2-3 people waiting for their food, 2-3 people waiting for their drinks, 2-3 people waiting for a waiter or waitress to serve on them, what do you think happens to the customer service as that real estate agent has more customers to serve? What happens to the customer service? It goes down, the client tells me. Exactly. And how does it make you feel if your real estate agent has to call you back 2 days later because they're parking someone else's car? How does it make you feel? It makes me feel unimportant. How does it make you feel if your real estate agent's cooking someone else's food, but you placed it 30 minutes ago and you want AKA you want to get in that house, but they're showing someone else? How does that make you feel? Well, it makes me feel upset. Would you stick around much longer after missing a house after house, after your food never came out, your drink never came out? Come on, somebody. Is someone feeling this today? Are you guys feeling that? Like, I'm asking these questions to the seller. How would that make you feel? So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you see the value in having a team? Do you see the value that smart business owner had by hiring a staff to support their clients, having a far side? Do you see this? Do you see the value in that? Great. Do you see the value in my team and I servicing you to sell your home? Great. Do you see the value in us having your food and your drink and your car parked ready to go? Yeah, awesome. Okay, the only thing we need next is your autograph on these pieces of paper. We'll get started next week. Sound good? Oh. What? Oh, let me pause there for a second. Let me get some water. Wow, that was too hot. You guys can open up the mic. Any thoughts, questions on that before we get started? Point number 3. And it's Monday.
Amazing. That was great, Gabe.
Thank you, Dolores. Thank you. I love that. Pre-qualifying. Anyone else? Thoughts, questions, anything on it? I just asked you a series of questions. That's all I did. Asked you a series of questions. Anyone else? Thoughts, questions, feedback before we move on to the next point?
Professional.
Professional. Amazing, Rashad. I love that. Remember this. I want you guys to write this down. If you guys were not on my call last week, I want you to write this one down. As a real estate agent, you must be 3 things at all time. Ready? Write this down. This is a side note because Rashad brought it up. Here we go. Ready? Number 1, as a real estate agent, you must be sharp as a tack. Sharp as a tack. Sharp as a tack. Number 1, you must be sharp as a tack. Number 2, you must be enthusiastic as heck. Enthusiastic as heck. You have to be so much energy, so much vibrancy, so much just life inside of you. Point number three, you must be an expert in your field. Point number three, you must be an expert in your field. Number one, sharp as a tack. Number two, enthusiastic as heck. And number three, a professional, AKA an expert in your field. As a real estate agent, you must be those three things at all times. If I'm walking in the grocery store, if I'm at the gym, if I'm walking down the street and I hear someone talk about real estate, and someone asks me a question, I must be sharp. That means eliminating the ums and the uhs. That means eliminating the thought processes. That means eliminating the time between question and response. That means eliminating any doubt in the prospect's mind. Sharp as a tack. You must have a go-to story. Look, I'm not joking. I have go-to scenarios and go-to stories and go-to captions in my phone for specific situations. If I were to go to an event, any event, and I'm not speaking at it, and I'm in the audience, and someone were to say, hey, Gabe, why don't you get up and share some words? If I were at a wedding and someone were to say, hey, you know what? We need someone to share some words because the best man didn't make it. I'm not joking you. I have those scenarios already mapped out and prepared on my phone that I've recited over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, because I need to be sharp as a tack. I can't afford to miss a moment. That's how rehearsed I am. That's how on top of my stuff I am. Enthusiastic as heck? Absolutely. How many times have you guys jumped on a phone call with me in the last 6-7 months we've been working together and I've been tired and slow and quiet? Probably never. Every time I'm on this thing, and there's like, I'm always amped up, like I did 5 bottles of energy drink or something like that, right? And also, I'm also professional. I dress the part, I speak the part, I know my part, I research, I rehearse. I put a lot of time and energy into researching and studying before I go out there and deliver and execute. Wow. Rashad, that was your fault, bro. Okay, step number 3. Here we go. Ready? Write this one down to the close. Step number 3. Want to close someone? Build rapport. Build rapport. Building rapport is having similar behavior, common behavior. Step number 3 is building rapport. And the way you build rapport is by having common behavior. Building rapport does not mean you walk into their home and say, oh, there's a fishing pole in the wall. You fish too? I fished all last season of fishing. It's not common. It's not similar interests. Ladies and gentlemen, building rapport, we've been lied to our whole career. It is not similar interests. It is similar behavior. Birds of a feather flock together. Look at your best friends. Look at the 3 people that you like the most. They are just like you. You guys talk about the same things, look at the same things, eat the same things, dress the same way, or similar to one each other. Very, very rarely do you see 3 people that hang out all the time that are just completely different. It's common behaviors that build rapport. Step number 4. Step number 4 in the close. Step number 4 in the close. Ready? Write this one down. Everyone, pens in hand, pens and paper in hand. Here we go. Not typing, not texting. This to be in a book. In a book. Look, you guys don't believe me? Look, I'm not joking. Look at this. Right? Look at all my notes that I write from all of my coaching calls. This isn't a joke. I actually skipped a couple pages to write this for you guys today, but look at this. Look at my book. Yep. Okay, good job, Bernadette. Look at this. I practice what I preach. Come on, Ellie, let's go. Look at that. So write it down on paper. I don't care if you ever go back to it or not. Here we go. Ready? Number 4, qualify. Number 4, qualify. You qualify by determining their needs, wants, and motivation. You qualify them by determining their needs, want, and their motivation. That's how you do it. Needs, wants, motivation. Number 5, education. Educating them. And the way that you educate them is by controlling the frame of the conversation. What do I mean by that? This is what I mean. Like I told you earlier, a moment ago, a lot of people right now, one of the biggest objections that I'm noticing in the industry is that there's 2 objections that I'm noticing. Number 1, rates are high. And number 2, if I sell, where am I going to go? Well, I guess it depends where you're at, right? If you're a buyer, rates are too high, payments too high. If you're a seller, if I sell, where am I going to go? I'm going to buy high. That's the objection that I'm seeing right now. If I allow the client to think whatever they think, they will never do what I want them to do. If I allow the client to think what I want them to think, then they will never do what I want them to do. Write that down. Write it down. If I let the clients think what they want to think, if I let the client think what they want to think, then they will never do what I want them to do. Here's what I mean by that. I'll give you a prime example. So my father was diagnosed with dementia late last year, and he's very sharp, very healthy. Thank God. Pray for him over days, really healthy. But he was diagnosed with dementia. But listen to this. Because my dad is thinking his own thoughts about everything that has to happen, he will not do what the doctor's telling him to do. He won't do what the doctor's telling him to do because my dad's thinking the way he wants to think. And that's the doctor's fault. The doctor should say, well, hey, listen, if you do what you're doing, this is what's going to end up happening to you. You don't want that, do you? No, I don't want that at all. Okay, you want to get this over here, don't you? Yeah, I want this over here. Okay, well, if you want this, what do you think we should be doing? Well, I should probably listen to you. I should do this. Yeah, you should be doing all these things right here. So here's what I recommend you should do based on that right there. Sound good? And then my dad at that point would take action. But my dad's not taking action because the doctor isn't controlling the frame. And guess what? My dad's not going to listen to me because I'm not a doctor. It's not my area of expertise. So when I talk to him about it, he's like, yeah, Miko, whatever you think, whatever. But here as a real estate, so I hope that analogy clicked. Your patient, the doctor's patient, will not do what the doctor recommends if the client thinks it's going to be a painful process. It's going to take forever for me to recover. Everyone tells me it's a bad procedure. If the patient is thinking whatever they want to think, they're never going to do what the doctor tells them to do. They're not going to get the surgery. They're not going to get the follow-up appointment. Does that make sense? Yes or yes? Therefore, you must educate your client and control the frame. Hey, client, I know the interest rates are high right now, and I feel you on that, which is why I'm not going to put you in a home that you can't afford. And what's most important to you is to get into a home that you can afford, right? My head, right? The whole thing is pretty good. All right, good. So I don't care if the interest rate's 2% and your payment's $10,000, or if the interest rate's 10% and your payment's $5,000. None of that's important to me. What's important to me is that your payment is comfortable. Does that make sense to you? Yeah, that makes sense to you. Okay, great. So I'm going to make sure that your payment's in a comfortable range. What payment are you looking for? $3,000 payment. Okay, and if we find the perfect home, because remember, step 4, we qualified. Step 4, we found the motivation. I want to upgrade to a bigger home because I need more space. Well, hey, client, listen. So if I can get you that 4-bedroom, 2-bath for your kids and the family, and it's in the perfect place that you want, what's the absolute max that you and your family can spend per month? Like, this is like, you're still comfortable going out, having dinner. You can do all those things. But what's the absolute max that you and the family want to spend? Well, I know I told you 3,000, but it's actually 3,200. Okay, so 3,200 for that 4-bedroom, 2-bath property. Perfect. Here's what we're going to do next. I controlled the frame. I got them to stop thinking about interest rates, and I now shifted their frame to think about payment, not interest rate, payment. How did I shift them from interest rate to payment? Because I took that objection that they had, I deflected it, I isolated it, and I said, well, what's really important to you is this over here, right? They're like, oh yeah, that's important to me. Okay, and if I can get you this, then you're good, right? Yeah, if I can get you your motivation by this time and this payment, you're good, right? Perfect, just like the doctor does. Now, here's what I recommend. Here's my prescription to you. This is what we need to do. We need to go after that. I'm going to pause there for a second because it looks like there might be some questions on the education portion. Step number 5 is education. What questions do we have or what thoughts? I need you guys to get this. If you guys are going to be top closers, I need you to get the framing. You have to get the framing. You have to know how to take them from over here to over here. You will never close a client if you can never get them to forget this feeling and this thought and move them over here. You'll never close it. Any questions, thoughts? Before we move on. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Lastly, final step to closing. The final step to close is close. That's it. Ask the question. Take the obvious step. Take the obvious step. Take the obvious step. You've already. So that means it looks something like this. If I take my seller or my buyer or my lead, whatever, and I take them through the whole process, I've I cared about who they were, so I come into there with their heart first. I pre-qualified them, ask them all the questions. So, hey, what do you look? You know, why are you selling? All the questions. I built rapport, similar behavior. So look, I'm not joking you. If they sit back, I'm sitting back. If all of them are close to the camera, like most of you are, like this, I'm close to the camera. If you guys kind of talk like that, yo, Gabe, man, what's up, man? What about that, bro? Then I'm like that. I'm like, yo, what's up, bro? If it's someone who's just calling me super energetic, then I'm like this. What's up, man? I'm mirroring and matching you the entire time. Here's a key to building rapport. Write this one down. I didn't tell you this one. Mimic their breathing. Mimic their breathing. I'm not joking you. This is the fastest way to build rapport. The number one fastest way to build rapport is to mimic their breathing. There's a lot of science behind what happens and how that happens. But if you listen to Tony Robbins, he'll tell you. He breaks down the entire answer of how it happens. Listen to this. He was at a restaurant one time. That's the example he gave. He was there was someone across the room who didn't notice he was even there, had no idea. Tony Robbins told his friend, this is how powerful breath is, how we're all interconnected. So Tony Robbins told his friend, watch this. I'm going to get him to do what I want him to do. Watch this. And for 5 minutes, every single time that person sat back in the chair, Tony Robbins sat back in the chair. Every time that person sat up, they sat up. Every time that person grabbed a drink, Tony Robbins grabbed a drink. And while they were doing that, Tony Robbins was mimicking his breath. He would see his chest. So he would just do it, start mimicking the breath, start mimicking it, and all the behavior for 5 minutes. And at that dinner, when he was finished, Tony Robbins said, here I go, now watch this. Every time Tony Robbins would grab a drink to have a drink, that guy would pick up his drink, have a drink. Anytime Tony Robbins would sit back, that guy would sit back. This is how hypnosis works. This is how we get deep into a person's mind. You want to become a master salesperson? Master everything that I'm telling you today. If you can master these 6 steps to the close, you will always have more than enough business. You will always have more than enough leads. You'll always have enough way of closing them. When you're closing someone at the very end, it's nothing more than a natural ending to the conversation. That's it. And people will support what they create. If you tell them what to do, if you tell them what should happen, if you tell them the right answer, they might do it reluctantly, but they'll never own it. They'll never own it. If you want that person to own it, help them discover it. When they discover it, they will own it, and then they will do it. People don't support what they don't create. People support what they do create. Get your seller, get your buyer to come up with the answer. How do you do that? You do that by caring for them, pre-qualifying them, asking the right questions before you make a prescription, building rapport with them, similar behavior, qualifying them at that point, which is their motivation. So what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Da, 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 da. Number 5, educating them, taking their frame, moving their frame over here by asking them really good questions. And at the very end of it, say, okay, well, it sounds like you want to do this and this and this, right? Okay, and by this time, cool, sounds good. Well, before I head out of here, I just need to get the paperwork signed. So do you want to use your pen or my pen? Oh, I got 2 pens, blue or black, which do you prefer? All right, hey, before we leave, I just need your autograph on a few things. Sound good? Yeah, sounds good, cool. It's a natural ending. Your doctor didn't freak out before he prescribed you the medication. Your doctor, your surgeon didn't freak out before they said, oh, what should I give? It was just a natural ending of the conversation. You walked in, they pre-qualified you, they controlled your frame. This is what you should be doing. Here's if you don't, if you do, what would you like to do? Let's go ahead and do it. Here's what you need to do. I'll follow up. I'll see you then. This is what I need from you. I'll see you in 2 weeks. They close everyone because they understand the process. Okay, we're over time. I want to leave this open for 1 more minute before questions to end anything. Any final questions before we wrap up the call?
Gabe, I had a question.
Yes.
So something that I've been struggling with is, I guess you would say getting in the right perspective. Like you would say, like for you, when you go in there, like changing the belief on why you're there. Well, what kind of books or like sales books would you recommend that would really help change your perspective or your belief on the way that when you go into anything that has to do with an appointment or talking to a potential client, like what books do you recommend to change that perspective on stuff like that?
So we're talking more about shifting, how to shift who you are. I
guess you would say, yeah, like the belief, because I feel like sometimes like as as a person who worked 9 to 5 my whole life, I'm pretty young, so I haven't worked for too long, but I don't look at stuff like, oh, my belief. I look at something like that's a limited belief I have. So I'm trying to change that for me to become a professional salesperson instead of me just being the 9 to 5 mindset. I want to open my mind, my belief, and my perspective on other stuff. Sorry, I'm sick. I know I sound like crap right now. So
Now you're good, man. Thank you, Rashad, for that question. So Tony Robbins has really good audiobooks on this. Brian Tracy has really good audiobooks on this. I would say start with those two. I don't want to overwhelm you, but start with those two right there. Every single person that you listen to or come across is going to tell you the same thing. It's going to talk about your affirmations. It's going to talk about your written statements. It's going to talk about your references that you're building for yourself on becoming a better person. So shifting that inner character, they're going to have a conversation with you about that. But if you really want to shift that inner character, it's going to come across to really that belief system. Remember, the reason we do anything in life is because of what we believe. What we believe. That's the, I promise you, Bernadette, Stephanie, Dolores, Caesar, Natalie, Cherish, Monica, Ashley, Desiree, Anne-Marie. The only reason, Louis, Francisco, the reason any of you do anything is because of what you believe. If you believe your car is going to be safe, when you hop inside the car to drive it, you're going to jump inside the car. If you believe it's not going to be safe, you won't do it. As simple as that sounds, that's how our entire life operates. I will door knock on these doors because I believe they're going to convert. I believe they're going to answer. I will close them because I believe when I ask them, they're going to say yes. It all comes down to your belief. So they're going to talk to you about that on those two books. Thanks for that question, man. Francisco, next question. Your example translate, but how do you actually deliver what you just said? Francisco, what part was it? I see you sent that at 12:25. What part were you talking about?
I guess what I was listening to you earlier. It's more the first part when you were talking, when you're giving the examples of the restaurant, you know, your examples of have you ever worked with a team and all that stuff. So when you approach a customer and they have their reservations about maybe listing or whatnot, how would you cite or how would you deliver your example of have you ever worked with a team before in terms of selling your home? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Can you phrase it a different way? I don't completely understand.
So someone would say, oh, hey, so, we want to eventually relocate, we want to get closer to family or whatnot, but right now interest rates are high. And so, earlier you cited the working in a team in like the restaurant environment. You have certain people who deliver different roles. When you were talking about that, I guess I was just trying to think of, how would you actually deliver the aspect of working with a team as opposed to working, just as a salesperson who's like maybe just starting off.
So I'm going to answer the question and let me know if it answers it. So the way that I bring that up, before I meet with any seller, I pre-qualify them. I get them on the phone and I ask them a series of questions. I know exactly what their motivation is, what their problems are, what objections they're going to have. I know exactly what they're facing before I go into the appointment. So most of the time, your doctor pretty much knows why you're there. They haven't clarified it, but you called the doctor, you said you wanted to show up there, this is what happened. So they already have somewhat of an understanding before they walk into that door. Same thing. You should never walk into a door before you pre-qualify. Now you know what their objections are. So that's step number one. You have to pre-qualify everyone. Now, when I'm sitting across the table from them and they have obviously invited me over because they have some interest in selling. Otherwise, I'll tell you this, if someone's not interested in selling, they're not inviting some person into their home for an hour. It's just not it. If they invited you over, they want to sell. They just want to feel comfortable and confident that you can get it done. It's the right decision. Before, I know that if I break my leg, I know that I need to get surgery. I just hope being comfortable and confident the doctor I go to doesn't screw me over and gives me a really good surgery and I come out healthy and strong afterwards. Otherwise, if I don't feel comfortable and confident with that surgeon, I'm going to go to a second opinion with another surgeon and go talk to someone else. So your job is to pre-qualify them. And then when you sit at that appointment, which they already know you want to sell, is using their motivation to help them make the decision. That's what's really important next. It doesn't matter to me if it's a team or a solo agent. I can reverse my analogy and I can say, hey, listen, I can be like, hey, Mr. Seller, look, I see that during my pre-qualification script, I ask them if they're interviewing anyone else. Are you interviewing anyone else? And if it's a top agent with a team, this is what I tell them. If I was a solo agent, this is how I would spin it. Yeah, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. So I also noticed that you guys are considering interviewing this team over here, right? This person over here. Yeah. And well, here's the thing with it. Let me ask you a question. So you've obviously been to restaurants where you get really good service, you know, they have a person every single thing, but have you ever been to one of those like mom and pop shops where it's really intimate, those coffee shops where they know you by first name, they know your drink, when you walk in there, they know your order, they call you already. How has this been and that been so far? Like, yeah, I've been to those places. Isn't that a great feeling? It's an amazing feeling, isn't it? And doesn't it, especially for something like this, where it's such a big transaction, like, wouldn't you hate to feel just like another number, another person, a transaction to them? Well, although they do a great job, that's the feeling you're gonna get over here. And when you hire me, listen to this, when you hire me to sell your home, I'm gonna be the intimate person who gets to know you. I'm gonna know the shop. I'm gonna wait on you 7 days a week. I don't have 100 listings like they do. I have 2. It's you and someone else. So you get all my attention 7 days around the clock. I'm gonna be here to service you at the highest level. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then right there, I go for the close afterwards. So I'll spin it either way. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm just gonna find a weak point and I'll attack it. There's no perfect scenario. I'll attack any point that I can and make it sound amazing. Francisco, does that answer your question? I hope it did, man. I'm not sure if it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome,
Yeah.
brother.
You answered.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anyone else? Final questions before we wrap up? Final thoughts? Three, 2, 1. Okay, let's get some big takeaways in. What was your biggest takeaway from today's call? Biggest
How
takeaway
to
from today's
change
call.
how to change a person's mindset from thinking about a specific interest rate to them actually wanting to buy the house or them wanting to commit to the purchase and the prescription that you set it up.
Yep. We call that
That part.
change the frame or shift the script. Change the frame, shift the script. Who else? Thanks for sharing that, Caesar.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, Bernadette, talk to me.
You really just, I'm going to say it the way I'm thinking it and thinking about it and the way it's coming to me. Confirmation just being in this Zoom right now. I spoke to a client a few days ago in regards to, he's out of town. He's not from here. And I really went in with that approach where I want to get to know you. I let him know, I want to get to know you. What are your needs? What are your wants? What are you all about? And he really, really appreciated that. I'm all for getting to know a person and just seeing that coming in return from him and how much he appreciated it. And then just hearing it here, I'm like, yes, I'm doing the right thing. And I like that because other people, other agents don't approach people that way. That's it.
Amazing. Wow, huge takeaway. Yeah, I love the confirmation. It's so good. Thanks, Bernadette. Let's take one more person who would like to share their biggest takeaway from today's call.
I would say controlling the conversation through providing value from education. So changing the whole conversation because you know your stuff, you're an expert, you're sharp as a tack, and you can control the conversation because you know your stuff. And I feel like that's something I need to work on.
I'll tell you this, when I first got started in real estate, I didn't know my stuff, but I still closed deals. I didn't know anything about 1031s or closings or anything like that at all. But I knew how to sell. I knew how to ask questions. I didn't have to know. You don't have, look at, I don't want you guys getting stuck with, I need to know about the contracts. I need to know about the listings. I need to know about this. You don't have to know that. If you control the conversation, you follow the procedure the way I'm telling you to do it, you can close. When I first got started in real estate, I was 24 years old and I had no idea what I was talking about. No idea, or 26, whatever it was. No idea. I just, this little Mexican kid with a red tie walking on doors, knocking on them. But you know what I knew how to do? I knew how to build rapport. I knew how to ask, what do you want? I knew how to say, okay, well, if that's what you want, we could do this. And here's that. Sound good to you? Cool. And then I get the contract signed. I'd go back to my manager and be like, what the fudge did I just do? What do I do next? Who do I call? And then my manager would be on the back end coaching me through the whole stuff. And I learned little by little. Don't feel like you have to know it all. You do not have to know it all. All you have to know is the closing process that I just taught all of you. That's it, the close. It's all you have to know. You know how to do that, you'll get a contract signed. You get the contract signed and you don't know what to do next, call your upline, call me, and we'll help you close it out. Okay, team, with that said, everyone put a big old Chuck E. Cheese smile on, let's take a photo. And I want you guys to take a screenshot too. I haven't seen you guys been posting, tagging me recently. My feelings are getting hurt. I want to see you guys tag. I want to see you guys tag. Here we go. Everyone ready? 1, 2, and 3. Got it. All right, team. Have a healthy, happy, productive day. If you guys need anything, reach out to me. Peace.